Is everybody comfy?
So good.
Awesome. My name is Brandon. Welcome to 8 Dyer. This is my husband and I, Steve Katsarinas. Wherever he went. He's in the kitchen hiding. This is our inn. Been here for 3 years. We're super excited. I'm also on the Parking and Transit Committee and Provincetown First Light. For those of you who are new, I recommend kind of mingling with people and talking to other committees, seeing if there's things that might be of interest that you would like to volunteer for. And we're always open for new members. So let's go ahead and get started with the, or do we want to do a round robin? It's like,
For introductions?
yeah, introductions. All right, well again, my name is Brandon Quesnell. I'm also on the planning board.
I'm Dave Garten. I'm on the community housing group of Provincetown 265.
Paul Kelly, same group, David, housing.
Dick Salmon, no committee.
Mark Phillips, second time trying to decide the committee.
Paul Novak, this is my first time here.
Yay.
And Michael Perry, first time here.
Anna Mead, I'm not on the committee.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
okay, yes. All people.
Let's see what we do.
Yes,
No, I just happened to be in town working at the Water's Edge Theater.
and we dragged him over here.
Steve Katsarinas, thanks for being here tonight.
Shira Kavan. I attended Provincetown 365 meetings way back a year ago, and then never had any time during the year, and I'm back. So I hope to join.
Welcome back.
Been around with Provincetown Banner.
David, or my real name, town manager.
Laurie McPherson, I'm the town planner.
Allison Baldwin, I'm from Brew Guest House, I'm on the Harbor Gateway and the Outreach Committees.
Irene Mitnick from Brew as well, and also on the Harbor Gateway and Marketing and Outreach Committee.
I'm Rick Alberg. I'm on the town bike committee, and I'm also involved in the Champaign Road and parking and transportation committees.
Brian Armstrong, I am a member of the Provincetown 365 Governance and Housing, and I'm also on town board member of ZBA and Economic Development.
I'm Jim Woods. I'm with Brandon on the planning board.
I'm Tom Cohen, and I'm on the Housing Committee. I'm also on several town committees, but I won't bore you with that.
Robert Spicer, Cultural Council, Scholarship Committees.
Tony Brackett. I'm on the school committee.
Christine Walker, I want to be on the Get Christine Walker House Committee. I'm with the Provincetown Film Society.
I'm Sarah Nitch, and I'm with the Provincetown Film Society.
Morgan Clark, Provincetown Health Department.
And I'm Heidi Blender, and I'm with Water's Edge and the Film Society.
Beth Goldstein, my second meeting. I'd like to join your committee, parking.
All right.
And I'm Heather. I'm not on any committees, but I work for TV.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. So why don't we go ahead and get started? We'll start with a presentation by Christine Walker and the Provincetown Film Society. Come on up.
Thank you. Well, when they said that, when Eileen and Allie said that we're having the meeting at 8 Dyer, then it was like, yes, of course, because they make the best food ever. So that's why we lured Michael over here. But thank you for having us. I know all the wonderful work that you've been doing, and I'm really grateful. I feel excited to join the party and join the group because we think that we are very much in your camp and very much supporting making Provincetown a year-round community. I want to thank our staff for being here and for Michael who wasn't just working at the Water's Edge Cinema. His company is really responsible for all of the technical equipment for equipping all of the theaters during the film festival and equipping the theaters and taking care of us at the Water's Edge Cinema. So we're really grateful to his expertise and for him coming and visiting us here. So we're the Provincetown Film Society, and a lot of people say, "What, you know, what's the film festival? And do you run a cinema? Is there a cinema in town? Whatever." And so I hear that all the time, almost every day. We hear that in the cinema every single day. And so we know that we have a job to do to kind of promote who we are and to let people know that we are here and we have year-round programming going on. Some of it had to do with the fact that we've had a lot of management changes over the past couple of years, and in fact I've been a filmmaker. Have had several films in the film festivals over the years. I've been coming for the last 13 years to the film festival. Had 6 films in the festival. And so, and the thing is that I've had premiered all over the world, had films at Cannes and Berlin and Sundance, but I love this film festival. There's something so wonderful about staff. In fact, we did a survey with our festival goers last year, and one of the top things that they rated us on was our friendly and warm staff. And also the community was such a wonderful, receptive audience, a smart audience, and then of course the beautiful location. You can't find a more wonderful, picturesque place to premiere a film than in Provincetown. And so I got more involved. I was asked to join the board about 5 years ago. Was happy to join the board and was asked by the then executive director to help start an institute, an idea for an institute. At the time we were also purchasing the cinema, and at the time I didn't realize what a huge undertaking that was. But we were doing that, we were starting this institute, and it was just like, oh, this is great. Let's, of course I'm going to join the board and everything's going to be great. It's been kind of an uphill battle. It's a lot of to do. It's a lot to take on for a small organization that we essentially really are. We've had this wonderful film festival, now in our 18th year, and we have a strong reputation, and on the outside people think, oh wow, you're the film festival, you're really rich, and you get all this money and sponsors. But the reality is, we would not be here for 18 years without the incredible, tremendous support of this town. And we need to grow that support and grow the support in the town, but also support outside of the town in order to keep the cinema going and also keep this idea alive about the Institute. So I joined the board, we started the Institute. What we found though is that people are really excited about the Institute. And I'll talk just in a second about what the Institute is. But they're excited about that, and that's our initiative that's growing the fastest of anything. And so, so I'm I came in, I was committed to that. I don't know, a couple of years after I joined, I had started a task force. We started raising money for the Institute. The executive director resigned. Not only that, our board president passed away. So we lost a lot of institutional history. We hired a new executive director. He was on for 6 months, and then he left 2 months before the Film Festival 2014. And so at that time, I was asked to come in and serve as the interim executive director because I'd been so involved in board matters and with the Institute. We were doing a fundraiser. And so I said, sure. Naively, stupidly, I said, sure. And I came in, and everybody rolled up their sleeves. The town was wonderful, and we made the film festival happen. But while we were doing that, I realized, oh my gosh, we are really surviving on a song and a prayer. And we're surviving on the great good graces of this town. And this town is kind of tired of supporting the festival year after year after year, and now, and they need some other support to come from outside. And what we realized is, okay, we get that, I get that. I mean, we want to be a win-win proposition for this community. And the way that we decided as a board is that the way to do it is to grow our year-round programs and not just make this about the film festival. And so that's what I have been trying to do with our staff for the last year and a half. I started out, we didn't make a big splash like, oh, Christine Walker is taking over as the executive director. We didn't really publicize it that much. what we decided is we're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to start building programs. And then we'll go out into the world and then we can say to people, we have programs, now please come to those programs. So that's what we've been doing for the past year and a half. What we've also been doing is there were a lot of systems we had to clean up. We had 7 donor tracking systems. We had a lot of people coming in and thinking they were doing a really helpful thing, and they would start a new Twitter account and all these other things. So we've also had to be streamlining certain systems and really looking at also our business systems as well, and looking at the 3 different businesses that we're now running. And so in addition to looking at all that stuff, we saw it all as an opportunity to kind of rethink who we are and reimagine ourselves and what we call restructure and reinvent. And so we went back to, we just threw our mission statement out the window and we said, what are we going to be? What are we about? And so we decided that we were going to go back to the mission of what Provincetown is about, the history as an art colony, as the first theater, the birthplace of modern theater, as this beautiful historical place, and decided that's where we're going to draw our inspiration. And this is what is going to help us not only grow our organization, but it's also going to attract other people. And we can look now at the film festival and say, the film festival has reached thousands and thousands of filmmakers like myself, who is out there in the world, and in the US and in the world. They know about us. So let's build upon that reputation, build programs here that are serving the community, but also will bring people from outside of here who love Provincetown Film Festival and who might be interested in working here on the off-season. And so that's what the Institute is really about. It's about coming up with residency programs, workshops, conferences, other kinds of programs that build upon our international audience and that bring them back here during the off-season. And so we've been talking to people like Rue. Rue is a huge partner of ours. Sage, many of the inns in town and restaurants and so forth, talking to them about bringing more people. And the first program we started, it was a residency program, and it was a women's filmmakers residency program. We're in our second year. We brought filmmakers who had films in the film festival, so they're established filmmakers, and they're filmmakers who are out there in the world making films. And we brought them here to Provincetown to just kind of do their work, and we will provide them with other support. If PTV we've talked to PTV, if a filmmaker needs camera equipment, they'll go to PTV. If somebody needs a studio space, they'll go there. So we're working with a bunch of other organizations in town to support these filmmakers. So that's one of our programs. We have workshops that we're bringing filmmakers who we know, who are part of our advisory board committee now, who the co-creator of Big Love and Getting On, he came and did a workshop. He's committed to doing the same workshop year after year. It's a 3-day workshop. People loved it. It's going to grow, bigger and bigger. And we can now bring people in, we can charge them, we can create packages to put them up and so forth. There is so much potential for what we can do. And so that's the Institute. We're doing more residencies. And we're thinking about workshops and educational programs that will attract people from outside of here. So when we think about all the things we do, when we thought about that, we changed our mission statement. We decided rather boldly, and someone was kind of making fun of me the other day about our mission statement, but it's really true when you think about what we're doing. We are not just contributing to the cultural and economic vitality of Provincetown, but we want to make Provincetown the global destination for creative exploration in film. And we really think with this community and with all the people who have been supportive, we can do that. We've done it with theater, we've done it with the visual arts, with painting, with pottery, and we've done it. We can definitely do it with film. So we do this with our 3 initiatives, with the film festival. The film festival is going strong. Last year we had a 600% improvement, financial improvement. That was, part of it was cutting costs, and the other part of it was raising money. We doubled our corporate sponsorships. We do it with the cinema by expanding our programming. You know, one of the things that people, I did when I came on was do a financial analysis of our organization, and we learned that the cinema was losing $50,000 essentially per year, and it was because nobody's here in January, February, March. We don't want to shut down the cinema during those 3 months. We will still do programming, and we're trying to figure out creative ways to raise money to offset that, because there's a huge community here, or not huge, a small community here, especially of elderly people, whose only source of entertainment is the cinema. So our staff is working hard to come up with ideas of how to offset that $50,000 a year. We've been running for 5 years, we've lost $300,000, you know, or more than $50,000 a year. So we're doing that with the cinema, and then the Institute, our programs, we're building them and growing them. So we really see ourselves as part of trying to make this a year-round community. And my personal commitment, a lot of people ask me that because I'm not from here, but why do you want to do this? It's because this place is magical. And this place has places like what all of you offer to us. And I, as a filmmaker, want to work here. I want to draw inspiration from here, and I love it. So I'm glad to be part of this effort, and I'm glad to work with you to make Provincetown a year-round community. Thank you.
So I have a couple comments. So I was very excited to get Eileen's email saying that you wanted to come and speak to Provincetown 365 about the potential for some partnership ideas. And I'm wondering if you and your board have sat down and thought about specific projects that you feel Provincetown 365 would be a good match for, to kind of help you with things or to move things along. What are some of the things that you're working on that could potentially be partnership opportunities for our organization?
Well, I mean, that's a good question, because part of what I need to do is understand who all you are. I know your names, but what exactly do you do? Because that's all we do is come up with partnership ideas. And that's all, I mean, all the programs that we do, we have partners on them. And it's like we're working with Seashore Point. We're doing a Getting On series. We're talking to Seashore Point about collaborating. Maybe they can't all come to the cinema, but we can bring the programming there. And guess what that does? That helps us with HBO, one of our key sponsors, who's interested in our working with us year-round. We can say to them, look, we have an audience for some of your series that you do, and we would, you know, and we can actually take the programs to some of the organizations here. There are millions, I could sit here all day and talk about millions of ways that we can work with you. We work with the Schooner Regatta. We do a screening for them. We work with the AIDS support group. Even if we're doing programs that you want to do at our cinema, that helps us, you know, go out into the world and say we're also a community organization. We sort, you know, we show these films that are important to people in town or our constituencies in town. So, I mean, I can't even begin to talk about the millions of ways we could work together.
But you've asked, I think, a really good question, which is, so who are you?
Yeah.
Like, who are we to partner with you? And I think that's a good question. I think we ought to think about that and how to answer you on that question. Because, you know, we're community activists. We have lots of different backgrounds and experiences. But as an organization, we don't really do anything as an organization at this point for ourselves. Our whole existence is about partnering to achieve objectives.
Well, and one of the things is just let people know we're year-round. I mean, on every one of our emails, we have Provincetown 365 on there.
I saw
You know,
that.
every single thing we send out, it's on there. Because that is really important that people know we're year-round. If this organization did one thing for us, it would be to let people know that, because some people don't, and they, you know, we get comments like, oh, you're just a film festival, and I don't know how many times, you know, how many times I've had to apologize or to explain that we're not just here to do the film festival and take your money and have parties. You know, not that they're bad, but it's getting the word out into the community, and even VSB who supports us, and they're amazing. But I did a presentation with all our programs and so forth, and they're like, oh my gosh, we didn't know you did that. And we don't have a huge marketing budget. You know, we don't, I mean, it's like we have our email, we're getting better at that. I'm learning Facebook. You know, it's like we're a tiny little staff. And actually before me, Heather was doing all the, you know, before, she was our theater manager last year, and she was doing it all by herself. So if there are ways that you can say, we can piggyback with you on events and so forth, that would be really helpful.
Part of what I think we should do is when we go back into committee meetings and say, how can we help you? It's almost as if we're your marketing committee too.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like the Harbor Gateway, when we were brainstorming, we thought, well, we could do winter film series on the pier, spring series. I mean, there are other ways that we can talk about you. I mean, I think we should talk about every partner we meet and everybody we meet. And yes, they're open. Yes, they're open. I don't know, we're a marketing department for you.
Well, and we had an event where, you know, our filmmakers, they come in and they want to meet with other artists. And so just getting the word out, we had like a little cocktail event at Land's End Inn, and thank God 25 artists showed up. It was really cool. I don't know how, it's sort of like osmosis, but they showed up, or it's free wine, that's what it is. but things like that are helpful to us to get the word out, because it shows people who are bringing from outside the community that there are, you know, we are who we say we are. We're artists, we're committed community, and these aren't even events you have to pay for. It's just come and show that you support us. And
well, and another thing, excuse me,
oh yeah,
the Film Institute, you know, did the Red End video, you know, for the 100th anniversary, and you know, we were talking about the Film Institute could do these little big vignette videos for small businesses in the history of Provincetown, and that's something we really want to do, because the big draw for the film festival is what Provincetown is. I mean, the location. So
I think one of the things we could do is, Mike is in here, but I'm on the Economic Development Committee too. We would invite you to come to one of our subcommittee meetings and do a little brainstorming, because just finding out that you're year-round, I didn't even realize that. It's a huge thing, and it's filling in our town calendar is one of the things. And like Steve was saying, we're bodies that can do stuff for other groups. So even our Provincetown Economic Development Group is going to help the town's economic development group by doing stuff. So
yeah,
I think it makes sense just to brainstorm even from that side.
That would be amazing. And you know, I grew up in Brewster, but I grew up coming to B-Town all my life, and I love. I went to film school and left and moved back, and to be able to work on the Cape Inn film is just a bonus for me. But you know, the number one thing for me is to get the word out that the Film Society is a year-round nonprofit. We're not just a film festival, and that's kind of our goal for this year.
I love the mission statement.
Yeah.
Go big.
Go big. Go home. Thank you. Thanks for asking that.
I have a question. Do you work with juvenile filmmakers?
Yeah, we have a program that we're starting where we're doing, well, part of our long-range plan, it's the LGBT youth filmmaking course, and we're in the process of designing it. We have a foundation that's offered to help support it, finance it. We're also putting together, we want to do a youth film component. We had a youth and diversity component to our film festival for several years. And guess what? No youth came to that, you know? So what we're doing now is we're going to do a program where we're asking young kids to program the festival, but they will be from outside of here, Boston primarily. They'll program the festival and we'll bring them to the festival to show their films. They'll be on a panel discussion, because that's also about engaging them in the choices of films, the choice of films that we show for the youth. So we have those two programs.
So the reason why I ask is we have a school here in town, and I think there might be potential for some kind of, turn around now. There might be potential for some kind of a partnership, so I'll get your contact.
That would be, do you know how many?
I'll put you on our agenda maybe in January when the budget season's over.
And we have we have some really, really great ideas and some talented, very smart people who want to do this badly.
Okay, so this might be a good situation.
Pardon me?
They shouldn't do it bad.
No, they want to do it. They shouldn't do it badly. Exactly. They want to do it well. But that is something we're so excited. And just so you know, like one of the things that I bring to the table is I've done all these films. I've worked with big stars in my films, and so I have a network of people who are just desperate to come here, to work here, to do residencies here, who want to participate in whatever way. And we just have to have the means and the places and the restaurants to feed them at, and we can do it. I was just in LA. We had a retreat in Palm Springs. HBO came, some of our major sponsors came, and they're all like, we need to roll up our sleeves and make this happen. We love Provincetown.
Do retreats here.
Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah. I had a question, a quick question. The Fine Arts Work Center, Pearl Street, is a residency program. Are you talking to them?
Yes, we do a screenwriting program with them before the film festival. We've done that the past 2 years. So yeah, we are. They work with emerging artists, and our residencies will pretty much be established. But yes, we definitely.
But they have they have the residency program.
Yeah.
Where do you put people who come here? Where
Yeah, I mean the thing about them is that they have the residents. They have like places. And actually when I started I thought, we need a place like that, you know. But then we have all these inns, we have all these places that have rooms that are open, sea glass inn. And so it's like, why would we want to build a place when we have all these rooms?
Except that they only have residencies X number of months a year.
No, we have summer.
It's
Is
10
it
months
all-
a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 10 month and then they rent out in the
Yeah. So we don't need to build, we need to build places for our staff, but not. Staff housing is really hard.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was really exciting and I'm
Oh, thank you.
And I just have to say, I've always had this dream of having a Patrick Swayze retrospective.
Oh my God, I love that.
That could be a one that would bring in your 50K right there. Yeah. Roadhouse, all of it. So I'm Morgan Clark and I run the health department in town. And thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting. And I thought before I would launch into why I wanted to talk to you all, I thought I should tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm personally and professionally interested and invested in Provincetown, much like all of you are. I grew up in town. I moved to Truro in high school, and that's where I live now. And I would love to try to get a T365 going. So if you want to help me with that, I'd love to talk to you about it. But like a lot of people, I watched Provincetown go from a small fishing town to an international tourist destination, much like you discussed. And I want to talk about building more public health and well-being programming in Provincetown. And I think a lot of the well-being issues you see on the Cape in general, but especially in the Outer Cape of Provincetown, probably due to the demise of, we had a year-round industry before with fishing, and now we have a seasonal industry with tourism, and we've got a large unemployed and underemployed population, some of them voluntarily, and others not so much voluntarily. But you see that as, it can be a recipe for depression, for substance abuse disorder, and also general unhappiness with neighbors, community, local government.
Town planners.
So I'm really glad that there's actually finally a civic engagement organization in Provincetown to help get people to feel engaged and to be involved. So professionally, I became the head of the health department last winter, and we added the public health department to my department just in July. So really, this is a brand new thing in my department where I want to really build that capacity and actually do things that matter and that'll improve things for Provincetown residents, visitors, as far as public health and well-being. So why I'm here is I think P365 is building this incredible network of engaged citizens and people passionate about making Provincetown a livable community, which in and of itself is healthy. And I thought we could partner on some projects to improve community health and well-being. So recently, the health department performed a needs assessment with local provider agencies and providers, and then we had a summit to talk about solutions for the gaps that we identified in the needs assessment. So some of the things that were identified, I thought, these aren't really things my agency can really do, or these aren't things my agency can do on their own. So much like you, I wanted to reach out and say, to local community organizations, can we partner on these? Are these things you would want to take and run? Do you have things you want to work with me on, or are they stupid and do you have better ideas? So, so yeah, that's why I'm here. And so here's some ideas that came up at the summit. And then I'd love to hear from you about other ideas. I brought my pen and paper. So a lot of people are concerned about bike helmet use. Some people are concerned about it with kids. So we're going to work with the social worker at the school about that. But also we've got a huge guest and seasonal worker population, and then tourists. And so we're trying to make this a bikeable community. I think you have a group for that. And we want to also increase bike helmet use. So if you have any ideas for that, that'd be great. One of the main needs that were identified, both in the needs assessment, the summit, and it's something that all of you know just living here, is transportation's an issue. For people who don't have a car, for people who can't have a car because they don't have parking space. So one of the ideas that came up was help build and administer a transportation fund and network to get folks from Provincetown to medical appointments or other necessary up-Cape or off-Cape trips. So that, I think, is really critical, and it's also something that I've learned if my department tries to handle it, then you all have all that red tape of government vouchering and approving. So I think it really needs to be an outside agency, but something to look into. And then some kind of odd job or volunteer network, possibly in partnership with the Little Fix program, which is in the housing department in Provincetown. But it would be a means of improving community well-being by keeping people busy and feeling engaged with their community. So this could be having a local business owner get some help refreshing their paint, or helping a local senior fix some steps that have become dangerous for them, or a local organization that, maybe their existing volunteer base couldn't help out with whatever they need. So, but having that network of listings and jobs, and I don't know how it would work, but I think it would be a really great thing. And then recreational and exercise opportunities for adults. Currently, my department, the recreation department, the library, and the COA, we're trying to identify programming that people want year-round. What would you go to? What do you want to see? What would make you feel like you're going to actually get out of the house at 5:30 at night when it's dark? So if you have ideas of what you'd like to see, or if you want to teach something, the rec department, they don't charge anything if you don't charge anything, and then I can't remember, but it's a minimal cost to have things at the Veterans Memorial Community So we want to build those programs. You know, if you want to show something at the library, but you have your own space. But there's I'm sure you have ideas, and I want to hear about them. And then finally, community behavioral health workers. This is just something that I'm beginning to look into, and so I'll probably come back to you if I find out it's something that'll work out here. But other rural communities have engaged just lay people as, frontline behavioral health workers to say, I've been trained in this, you seem like you're down, let's talk about it. Or you seem like you need other services, let me help you connect you with those services. And, do easy screening for depression and suicide. So that's something that I'm going to look into with other towns on the Outer Cape. I think, Provincetown isn't one of the only towns that deals with these issues. So I think that's more of a regional solution. But those are just some things that have already come up. And again, I'm here to hear from you and hear what you have to say and what you think.
This doesn't have to do necessarily with everything on notice, but you said something about about substance abuse. We have a screening, an upcoming screening for the AIDS support group of what happened here, this whole story of addiction on Cape Cod on December 3rd. And if there's like some kind of element, like if you, they said they might have speakers from the filmmakers be there, but if maybe we had someone that was connected to the health department, it might make something.
That would be great, because we definitely, that's an issue that we want to be more involved with moving forward. Like, how do we, so what happened here, and now what can we do about it?
It's a free screening, so you can also like publicize that to people. It's December 3rd, I think at 6:30, so.
Okay.
But we can talk more about it. Okay, thanks.
The school has an adult education. We had 2 sessions, and they're really underutilized, and we struggle every year to get people interested in teaching a course or offering a seminar or something. If you have ideas of something that would be interesting to the community, I know they're going to do pickleball, for example, which is like the upcoming weird sport in the country. And that's going to happen in the gym. It's very popular over the country.
Wait, what's pickleball?
Yes.
It's like a table tennis.
It's a cross between
mallet.
ping pong and racquetball.
And it's a wiffle ball, and it's a small area on the court with a low net. And it's really good for people who are sedentary and they want to do something. It makes them feel like they're athletic.
No actual pickles are harm.
Right, no actual pickles are harm. And I watched it once. I was sort of intrigued. I'm actually going to do it myself. But if somebody wants to teach a class and you don't mind not getting paid and offering it for free, we'll take on anything at the school. If anything that you're an expert in, any kind of quirky extracurricular activity that would work in school, would be great. And if there's anything that you think that, your department has any ideas, let us know. We'll put it in the catalog. And then we just have to get people to sign up for it. That part's a challenge. But we've offered some great stuff.
Yeah. Where do you put the catalog out?
Yeah.
As far as I know, it goes to guest houses. Did you ever get
I don't
here?
know that I've ever seen it.
Okay. I guess
This is the first time I've ever heard of this.
Oh,
Oh, really?
So in Truro, they put it in all the post office boxes, because really there's no way to talk to people in Truro.
Oh, right.
But-
And I'm sorry, is the audience children or adults or everybody?
Adults.
It's adults
Adults.
and high school age children if they're interested.
Sure.
But the audience is adults. I mean, I tried to teach a music appreciation class. I only had one person sign up for
So
it.
I guess it's like, a lot of us didn't even know it existed. How do we get that out there?
Oh, I'll make sure now that it gets, that the advertising. I think there was something in the banner. I think Outer Cape had a pile of stuff, Stop and Shop. So I'll make sure that there's something that's more visible. And,
I took a couple of the woodworking classes and they were great.
You made an Adirondack chair?
Oh,
that was last week.
Cherry table.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And the instructor they have is.
Yeah, he's gone. He retired.
Oh, he retired?
Yeah, he just
I have a
retired.
good woman instructor, Cynthia, who taught my husband last
Oh, she's here
winter,
now.
so,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. You might take over.
Still
next
doing
time.
it.
Have you ever thought maybe of a CPR course?
No, but we can do that,
You're
definitely.
good.
Okay. We do offer, I shouldn't say no. So restaurants have to have this thing called choke safety. leg without. And so we do offer that for free. But we can do more of those, and we can do them in the off season.
Because I have to, for my massage license, I have to have that.
And does it have to be CPR?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sure that would affect other people.
Yeah, and we've also been asked for like first aid and emergency first aid. I run the shelter for the town, so we're always looking for volunteers there. We've been asked to, offer trainings for that. So that's a great off-season.
In terms of your question about the bike helmet thing, I think the school is a great resource. The town bike committee would probably be willing to participate in doing things as well. I'll bring it up at their meeting tomorrow.
Thank you.
Can you make it a law?
It is a law for children. And the Seashore enforces it a lot. And Seashore does a couple of things.
Yeah, we went into that.
Because strangely enough, statistically, it's much more dangerous on that bike path in the Seashore than it is in town.
Yeah.
There's a lot more injuries that happen out there, and they're a lot more severe than what happens on the streets of town. So it's not people in cars, it's people falling off their bikes on a hill in sand.
Does the Seashore have a specific law about helmets? I never know.
No, the state does, but they do a lot more encouragement of people to wear helmets. I don't know in terms of accessing the tourist population, that would probably go through the bike shops. I think the bike committee could really help flesh out some kind of plan to address some of that. And something that people joke about a lot about the cinema is that before the trailers, it's the same slides over and over again. And if there's an opportunity there to do promotion for local nonprofits.
We just figured out how to do that and have been changing it recently. So any kind of input we can have, we can put things up there like that.
Whether, it's particularly in the off season where it is a local
We'll
crowd.
totally do whatever.
And
we just figured out
we
how
only
to
have
do
about
it.
the same 6 slides that play over and over again.
Because I'm sure we'd love to put a slide up.
We could absolutely put slides up. Yeah, that's one of the things we can do.
Slides.
He's the only one who's given us advertising, so that's why there's 3 of those and then 3 of us, and that's it.
Because we'd love to do a bike safety one.
Videos as well as
Not on the beforehand thing, but we might be able to. We can? Okay, thank you.
That's good. We've been working on a Provincetown 365 short videos. So we might have something that
we have
would
these
be
2
useful.
screens.
And we also have screens that advertise out front that we definitely can add short video to, that we've already done that with, but like you said, you can do it in the cinema too, so, yeah, so yes.
Can you also do local ads that people pay for? So
Yes, we have that, and actually that's one of the only
you don't
things
know
that shows
that,
up there
that's
is
really
a
sad.
see your ad here advertisement, so we're working on it.
So you can make money.
Yes.
So on the bike helmet safety, one of the things that the health department could do is when there's an accident, publicize it, see if the banner will cover it. Because I think if you read about people having traumatic brain injury from not wearing a helmet on a bike, you're probably, eventually the drip, drip, drip starts to change people's behavior.
Do the bike shops require, someone rents a bike?
Adults aren't required to wear helmets. If you're over
That's not a
16,
state law.
you're not required to wear a helmet in Massachusetts. So they don't give them out. It's been a challenge even to get them to include lights on their bikes, which are required by state law. But their argument is that people don't ride their bikes at night when they're renting.
What?
Obviously they do if you're on a commercial street. You see a lot of bikes that don't have lights. So there's some work to be done there. But I think those are people that we could connect. The bike shops, the bike committee, the Board of Health, the school, and the local
Do they
police.
have to pay for helmets, do you know?
I don't know how.
I would hope that, yeah.
I don't know.
Morgan, can I say something else along that same line?
Yeah.
Too many people who are walking on the roads at night are not illumined, and that is a big problem. I just started to use a pocket flashlight and just stick it out of my pocket to make sure that people can see me, because I happen to be wearing all black tonight, but I try to wear something that's brightly colored so that I'm not in danger, that it's not dangerous to me. But yes, if people could be wearing some sort of, the way that the bicycle committee is sometimes giving out bike lights, if there's any kind of small clip light that people can put on a belt loop, that people can put in a pocket, that would show a light to drivers. That's a good thing summer and winter.
Yeah, and hopefully walkability. We're hopefully going to
Right,
improve.
walkability too.
So that you're not walking in the street would be the long-term goal, right?
And the bike committee actually got a lot of these reflective armband things
Oh, yeah?
this spring for bike week.
Yay.
And we had a horrible time giving them away. People didn't want them. So
Oh my God.
I think
You
if,
still have
yeah, if you finish after talking about walking at night, I think it's a completely different thing than trying to give someone a reflective band for their bicycle. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. So and we get that stuff through state-funded grant
that's
things.
cool.
So we can just request hundreds and hundreds of those things in the spring. So.
And at a larger policy level perspective, we've been working on a complete streets policy, so hopefully, you know, pedestrians and bicyclists at some point will be given equal consideration when road work is done and improvements are made.
Since we're going into winter and a lot of people will be here, do you want to talk at all about the shelter?
Sure. Yeah, I guess I didn't plan on it, and I don't know why. But as I mentioned, I do run the emergency shelter, which is a resource for everybody in Truro and Wellesley, and even visitors come. And we are actually trying to build it as a community space when we have to open up. So say you are lucky enough to still have electricity, you can come up and have a delicious meal cooked by the guys at 8 Tire. Or just hot coffee, but you know, have it be more of a community space so it's not just the poor unfortunate souls who actually don't have electricity, which last year there were quite a few. So
Where is it?
it's at the Veterans Memorial Community Center at the top of Winslow Street, across from Ramada Field. And if you're not on the Code Red town alert system, then you definitely should go on there. You go on town@provincetown.org or whatever, .gov, and you find emergency planning and you hit Code Red. Then we will call you, we'll email you, we'll spam the hell out of you if any emergency is coming to let you know that you need to move your car in an event and if we're opening the shelter and all that other important information. And then we won't ever bother you again until the next event. But, so yes, come to the shelter when we open it and we let you know that it's opening, but also we're always looking for volunteers. We're really, we're bare bones staffed. In a long scale event, we wouldn't have enough people to keep going, and it's mostly town staff. The Medical Reserve Corps, American Red Cross, and the Animal Welfare Committee have all tried to recruit staff down in Provincetown and Truro, and we have maybe 2 for each department and each agency.
What's the commitment?
They call you if an event's happening, and if you can make it, you say yes. Yeah. I mean, each agency has different training requirements and vetting. The Medical Reserve Corps isn't even all medical. They have the medical component, which if you have some sort of medical training, then you can practice if you're there under Medical Reserve Corps up to your licensure. But then there's also, we just need people helping with registration, handing out blankets, setting up cots, and the Medical Reserve Corps will train you and vet you for that as well. But really, I mean, if you're not around or you're not available or, you know, your kid's sick and you can't come, then you just say no. But we're always looking for those volunteers. So I did bring my card, and I'll put that out.
And the shelter accommodates pets now?
It does. Thanks for asking that. So yeah, we've got this great pet shelter in the back. I know people like to, you know, volunteer for pet-related things. So they need volunteers as well. But you can come with your cats and your dogs and your iguanas and your snakes, and we can accommodate them. Though, you know, also for your own planning purposes, you should always have 3 days worth of meds and clothes put in a bag and ready to go. And if you have pets, you should have their dog food or their food and meds ready. Also, if they have a rabies certificate, have that in the bag, because you know we're definitely not going to turn anyone away, but your poor pet might have to be in quarantine if we don't know that they're up to date with their vaccine. And I don't even know what iguanas need, but we will do whatever we need to do to make your stay. But they are separated. It's a separate part of the shelter actually. So, and hopefully, before next summer we'll have an open house and let people come and check it out, and so it's maybe not so foreign to you, but we definitely are doing a lot to improve that shelter and get it everything we need in the case of an event.
Is there a pick up garbage group on that, for exercise? Because I did this thing during Inspiration Week, we did garbage pickup on the ocean. And it was actually a great exercise, and people of all ages did it. And that seemed like it would be a nice exercise option.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, that's what I do every time I go.
Yeah,
to the beach.
I learned a lot. The people, actually Zoe Lewis led it, and I learned a lot about garbage and the ocean and what gets thrown in the ocean.
That's a great idea. I'll talk, we're hiring a conservation person soon, and I think that'd be a great partnership. We also have an AmeriCorps volunteer, and I know they did a beach cleanup.
Yeah, they do it
but
over at one point.
yeah, I don't know much about it, so I'd love to get involved, and I think that's the only exercise I can.
Yeah.
Going for a walk, picking up trash, and then not having anywhere to put it. So that's also something to work on. Anything else?
No. Just one quick thing. My dad lives at Seashore Point and he's in a wheelchair. And so this isn't just for him, but other people who can't get around. I can get him free of charge, have a shuttle pick him up and get to a doctor's appointment. But if I want him to come to my house for Thanksgiving, it's $350.
Oh.
So there's no private. I've called, I've tried, I've emailed, and in this, I have not found a private, Truro, I think, might have it, but, because you see people who live there, they come and take their people out, and my dad's always like, oh, like, I can't, because he has to be moved in a chair. So, and I know there must be other people in town who.
So the Council on Aging will provide.
I called, there's nothing. There's nothing free of charge. No.
But for the Council on Aging to do it, it would cost a lot of money.
They wouldn't, there was nothing available or provided. So it's just really hard. I literally has not seen our house.
So, yeah, I have a meeting tomorrow with the Council on Aging.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, I know that the RTA is supposed to.
I mean, even Seashore Point has its own van, but there's some kind of liability with certifications or my dad. I mean, I would be with him, but they have not agreed to.
But there must be other people.
Oh, you know what? Also, do email me because someone dropped off some pamphlets, and it is a private company, but I'm wondering if maybe they're cheaper, but it was.
It's just a lot of money to move him for personal.
Is it $350 each way?
Yeah.
Because
No,
you could fly
it's
somewhere
even
for that.
Yeah, round trip, but even that.
She would get to Miami.
Something I'd like to say on that subject, I know some of the cabs have vans as opposed to cars. In fact, most of the cab services. Is there some way to suggest to the cab service companies that one or two vans get outfitted with accessible lift? And that way you can just pay what you'd be paying for a taxi, which is at least reasonable.
That would be amazing.
And then they're covered for liability, they're covered for other things.
Just to get people out of their house
Just
down
to
to
be
the
able to
center.
get people, move people from one place to another. It means not having to start from square one and build it all the way up, but use an existing service in town that could maybe be outfitted with this.
I think that's a great idea. I wonder as Provincetown voters if you shouldn't talk to one of your selectmen.
Yeah, who happens to own a taxi.
Few taxi companies in town with vans. But yeah, I'll definitely ask Cecilia. I'm guessing it's some liability issue, but again, please email me because I think that someone dropped off something that might fit your needs. But again, I don't know about cost or price. But that's careful. Okay. Sounds like you have all your questions. Thank you so much for having me.
Before we get started on the next topics, if anybody wants to stretch their legs, there's a bathroom through this door all the way to the left. If anybody needs a refresh. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get going with our updates from our work groups. Start off with parking and transit and Champaigner Road.
And I guess that's me. I'm going to hang on to this. So some of you might, so the first thing is fall traffic hearing proposals. We had 3 proposals in the traffic hearing that happened last week. 2 for bike markings on Champaigner Road and Conwell Street, and another proposal for bike racks. The bike marking things got deferred to the future by the selectmen, but the bike racks, we actually got a couple of them through. We'll be putting, town will be putting bike racks on Pearl Street Landing behind Wired Puppy, hopefully to fit about 26 bicycles, and on Court Street Landing between Globaliz and the Firehouse restrooms that'll accommodate up to 54 bicycles. So that is a good win. The one that we had proposed for Johnson Street parking lot, which was the most significant, which would have fit something like 66 bicycles, got deferred because the town was unsure about whether they could actually hear that request during a traffic hearing. So that's being put off until the future. So I don't see the town here anymore, but I expect we'll be working with him. We'll be working with him on moving the ball forward and figuring out what we need to do to work on all three of the things that didn't get approved.
So is the bike rack behind Wired Cup visible from commercial?
Somewhat. No, not really. It's behind a lane of parked cars. So part of the proposal included putting signage at Commercial Street indicating that there are bike racks. So they'll be there. And they also asked to put signage at Town Hall as well to indicate where the bike racks are at Town Hall. So this was really what we looked at as the low-hanging fruit in terms of all of the bike rack possibilities for town. And since the traffic hearing was coming up and the selectmen oversee the public way, it seemed like an opportunity to actually say, hey, can we get approval for these and start the ball rolling on installing some bike racks? So we'll be looking at funding sources and actual layout and design with DPW to figure out how it's actually going to happen. So it's good. It's good. We had some good conversation. There was some good discussion. So it was encouraging, even though not everything got approved.
So on the share rows, was there discussion? Did you get a sense of?
There was a lot of discussions. There was significant buy-in, particularly on Conwell Street, where we talked a lot about how narrow it is, and we really want to educate drivers and bicyclists to use the road and to actually share the road, not just squish people off to the side of the road. So that there seemed to be considerable support for it. Shane Painter was a little more nebulous, I think, because that's a big road and speeds are probably a little bit faster over there. There was some discussion about whether they'd be in the middle or on the edge and all sorts of things like that. So they were kind of implementation issues, not really yes or no type of issues. So those were both deferred pending the traffic study, which should be getting released sometime in February. We'll see another iteration of some of the draft stuff, I think, in January, and then we'll have that. So I think, well, if it doesn't get integrated kind of into the bike committee's plan and into the traffic study, we'll bring it back at the spring traffic hearing anyway. So hopefully we'll get to work with you on.
Yeah, I'm actually just looking at I gotta get the staff together. And I don't know if Gloria's found that where in the schedule it is, but I just was asking. I don't know where our follow-up meeting is on the traffic stuff.
Our follow-up meeting is actually tomorrow.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's on my schedule. What's that?
From 2:30 to 3:30.
Okay.
Because we'll be talking about that.
Yeah, start off there. On Friday this week, I'm laying out everything we have to get done to be at town meeting. And I want to start layering in, and it's also going to come up in 365 conversation, how we do better outreach, like we did for fall meeting. We got to start scheduling in better stuff, and a piece of that is getting all the traffic stuff done before then, so we actually get there with the right product.
Good, good. And I think this was really good because we didn't know where to go. The bike committee actually didn't know where to go to ask for bike racks, and 365 didn't really know who to go to. So we said, oh, traffic hearing, let's try that as an avenue to do this.
I always suggest asking the town manager.
Well, we tried that in the past, it kept getting deferred. So now that we've got one, we'll go probably go to you first to get direction on how to do that. So it was a good exercise. I think it started a big discussion. It brought up a lot of awareness. It showed that people in town are actually working on things to kind of further the stuff. And
That's great.
I thought it was really good.
Have you ever thought of asking the bike shops to maybe put their name on it, and they can donate some money for that?
You know, I think that's an interesting idea, but someone said to me recently, why would you ask the bike shops to do that when you don't ask the gas stations to do it for the parking lots? And it was kind of, I thought that was actually kind of funny because it's, you know, one of the things that, you know, the bike shops do some stuff, contributing to lights and things like that over the course of the year. I think there's opportunities maybe to do that. I don't know that we get a lot of traction, even though we have 4 bike shops. It's unfortunate that they all closed. So they're all closed right now. So you can't really do any outreach to the bike shops this time of year. But I think that's definitely, they're the right people to start asking for help with that. But there's also a huge number of funding options too. There's things like the enhancement grants from the VSB. They paid for a lot of the bike racks that are out there already. You see they have the little Provincetown logo sticker on them. There's the CPA funds, there's Cape Cod Commission. I'm in conversation with them about a bike rack program that they're working on, and hopefully we'll have it in spring. So there's lots of places to go for the money, and I think it's something that town needs to make bikes equivalent to cars, and really think of them as just transportation and not just a summer recreation thing. Because that's what, once people get here and park their cars, it's how they get around. They're either walking or on their bikes. And that's, I think we want to encourage that too. And I think the selectmen have said that as a policy statement, that we want to encourage people to use their bikes more in town. So these are all pieces of doing that. But I would really like to see more involvement by the bike shops in stuff in general. But there's a little bit of concern from some of the bike shop owners about actually being really involved, like with the town bike committee, because this is one case where there actually is an economic conflict of interest. If you own a bike shop, how much can you participate in a town board that deals with bicycling? So they kind of get stopped from participating. That's unfortunate.
I would like to see one stay open.
I would love to see one stay open. And I will say that P-Town Bikes in the past has had a sign on their door saying, if you need emergency service, give us a call. And I've taken advantage of that in the past. Yeah, where I've gotten a flat in December and they're like, I need help. But yes, I think in terms of generating more year-round stuff, I would love to see one of the bike shops be open. So I think that's it on. Yeah, that's it on parking and transit.
The Johnson Street proposal that we had for bike racks. The planning board is actually in the process of asking for clarification on fire codes and measurements and planning and things like that, because I think a lot of the selectmen were a little concerned about fire trucks being able to turn around or make a U-turn on Johnson Street or back up or what have you. So we're waiting for that report to come through, and then we'll be able to educate the Board of Selectmen on the appropriate necessities of planning out that site, and possibly we'll bring.
I'm cool with that. At the same time, I've got a fire chief too, and I don't want to be doing silo end runs. So the reason I was actually pulling a committee together was so that I actually got everybody to agree. The difference we now have, as before we may have had to do end runs around various people in town to get things done. But with this town manager, that's no longer necessary. What we need to have is collaborative, everybody agrees. And my job is to tell everybody you're going to agree. So I don't want to keep participating in having to be clever about how to get to the board before someone else does. I want to crush it at the beginning. So, just as that was the direction I'm headed in.
In terms of other parking and transit activities, unfortunately Paul Sherman's not here, but if you guys didn't know, the LimoLiner was actually incredibly successful for its first 2 runs, so it was completely sold out. The unfortunate thing, which I know David is going to approach Bay State about, is they did not advertise the 3rd run that they were going to do, and unfortunately they only had 1 person do it, so he got a little perturbed about it. But again, I don't think anybody necessarily knew that the LimoLiner was running, which is why he only had 1 person. So when we did know about it and we pushed all that advertising, he actually sold out and had to turn people away. So we're hoping that you might be able to.
Well, he's going to take it as a loss. He's just going to have to take that one on the chin.
I mean, he knows that right now, we all know, and he communicated that he is doing this at a loss. He is doing it to test it out and see if it works. Hopefully he realizes that when everybody's on board and we're all promoting it, it's incredibly successful, not only for him, but it also brings more people to P-Town and without their cars, which is absolutely phenomenal. Other things with parking and transit that are going on, we're still waiting to hear from CCRTA about, unfortunately Morgan left, but in terms of the transportation around the town, we are still communicating with them about having 2 small loops just in town, so that way you only have to wait hopefully a maximum of 15 minutes before some shuttle will show up and move you around town. Again, it's an initiative to try and reduce the amount of vehicles in town get people here and still be able to get to the beaches, get to either side of town without having to drive. Any questions for parking and transit?
Well, that would make a huge difference with the film festival.
Yeah.
And the venues that we use for, a lot of people, they want us to have an event at some venue that's maybe down in the east side, and people complain about having to walk all the way down there. And so every year we talk about a shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be awesome.
The one thing that we did approach CCRTA about was using our trolley system right now. Unfortunately, they said that it's a conflict of interest because it reduces the amount of ridership on their buses. And so some guy tried to do it, I think with golf carts 3 or 4 years ago up and down Commercial Street, and he received a cease and desist letter from the CCRTA regarding that. So I don't know, again, that's something that we're gonna bring back up about when I had a conversation with the head of CCRTA, he said, well, I don't have enough drivers. So I said, if I get you drivers, does that solve our problem? He's like, well, hold on, not exactly. Yeah, because we've got people who need jobs, and they can be these shuttle drivers, but exactly. So it's the funds and...
For Family Week this past summer, didn't a large corporation buy out the pedicabs, and the pedicabs offered free transport from the middle of town to the end, Provincetown end, is that correct?
Yeah, during Family Week, the pedicabs were
Right,
free.
so they were just, they took gratuities for people.
It was well promoted to the Family Week people, but not to the town.
Right,
So.
but I wonder something, I don't know if that was a good thing or not. I mean, I don't know what the cash situation was, but I'm wondering if you have a big sponsor for the film festival, that might be an option for you to say, do you want to, give the pedicabs X amount of dollars for this week, and if the people show their ID or something, they get a free ride to, I don't know.
Just another question on the shuttle loops, it would just be in season, or it's thinking about it for?
Well, to start off with, we were figuring mostly in season because of the amount of people, but it's definitely something we could consider later on.
So a true shuttle where you can get on and get off and.
Correct. That was the idea.
Unlike the trolley.
Correct.
Okay.
But the trolley, well, that's why we were talking to CCRTA, because they could do that, but they can't right now.
Right.
So that's the challenge. Great. All right. Thank you. We'll go to governance and outreach next. Brian?
Hello everyone, I'm Brian Armstrong. I'm on the governance committee. And so our first big outreach was the fall special town meeting. And we put together a informational forum the week before, the Monday before. And we had a outside moderator or facilitator that came in, and David Panagord presented most of the warrants in a neutral manner to help explain what a yes vote meant and what a no vote meant, so that people were more informed going into town meeting than they normally have been. So we had a great turnout. PTV aired it a couple times before town meeting. So, there were some learning curves in this, and we're learning from them. So I think we're going forward with this for the annual town meeting in April. There are going to be some changes to it. We're going to do a better job in promoting it. And one of the ideas was doing a mailing to all the registered voters, to let them know that this will happen, and so that will increase the base. We're going to try to get some kind of transportation and team with the Council of Aging, because they do a forum for Seashore Point, but get Seashore Point residents to Town Hall, get them to participate with, everyone instead of a separate event, and kind of help people who don't have access to transportation, they're kind of stuck in their house, to let them know that we're willing to pick them up, bring them to this event, to get more people to attend.
Were there more people at town meeting?
Fall town meeting is kind of iffy, so there was a couple hundred, but not like the annual town meeting. So, and there wasn't a lot of, besides the school, a lot of budget and financial votes, so I think it had a low voter turnout for that. But the annual town meeting always has a big turnout for that, so we're really going to promote the forum and really, kind of streamline it a little bit better. But it was a great opportunity for people to ask questions, and we had a good turnout, I believe.
My sense was that there were a lot fewer people standing up at the microphone saying, "I don't understand. What is this all about, or what does this mean?" Because I think people had opportunities to get their questions answered in advance. And there was some the school issue was, I think, very complicated. And there was a lot going on there. And my sense is it wouldn't have passed if there weren't the session in advance for people to get that information and understand, and to be able to say, so if we don't do this, then what? Because that's hard to have that conversation on the floor of town meeting. So I think it was extremely useful.
And we pushed it out via Facebook and got combined on all of the Warren article videos, which there were a number of them, we got over 1,000 views. And over almost 300 just on the school one alone. So there was a lot of awareness that this had happened, and I think we got pretty good engagement on it for the first time doing something like this.
Yeah.
I think your procedure was really spot on. I think having people ask informational questions and enforcing that you have to be polite, and does that satisfy? Are you satisfied? Do you understand it? If you don't, we keep talking about it. I thought it was great. I mean, it felt very comfortable for me as just a citizen to sit there and take in the information. It just felt very comfortable.
No, it was a very civilized night.
Yeah.
People were able to ask their questions. We did have, limits on what kind of questions you could ask, but I think everyone was able to ask a question, get a appropriate response from either the town manager or the proponent of the article. Beth's presentation was really, had a lot of information for the short time that we gave her to present it. And, a lot of people got some serious questions in, and, she did do some changes for her town meeting presentation.
Yes.
For that, since that meeting, so. But a few of the things that we wanted to do, the paddles finally arrived 2 days after. But one of the things that we wanted to do in this was, once the article was presented, if there was an understanding of what a yes and no vote would mean, we would raise paddles to kind of move the discussion along. There were some articles that really didn't need discussion, so it would help in the more complicated articles to have a little more in-depth, questions. So, yes.
Just, Rick, if you would post that to the town talk, that how many views everything had, I would like to promote that it was a success.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think there's no better way to do it than say, we had over 300 views, we had over 1,000 views altogether.
And I'd have to check the actual YouTube
Yeah.
channel as well to see what.
Just make sure, if you exaggerate, just make sure it's a reasonable exaggeration.
The numbers were
I tend not to exaggerate.
Yeah. And the numbers were really high. They were over 500 on a lot of them. So we reached a great deal of people in town. So, did anyone have any feedback from this event that attended or saw it?
Like you said, promotion, I think, more promotion would have been great. And I learned from that experience with the bike thing that we had last week about the Outer Cave bike plan. I made sure I got the A-frame and put posters on it the day of the event to just make sure that people who aren't online, we tend to do a lot online, make sure that we actually flyer around town and put things in the coffee shops and kind of get things out in the real world as opposed to just
Yeah, that
online.
sandwich board did help.
Yeah.
Just you get that out a few days before. They do that for town meetings, so.
Yeah, or if it's big, it's a big thing. It's once a year. Make a banner for it, and hang it across the street. I think actually getting people who are here to see that stuff is gets.
I think multiple points of contact for at least 2 weeks beforehand, until people are bored of hearing that it's going to happen.
Just ride up and down Commercial Street. Big placard on your bike.
Can we hire the town crier to just walk up and down?
Can we give us some skills to drive up and down?
Yeah. Are you planning to have this informational meeting further than only 1 week in advance?
Well, our goal is 1 week, so it's fresh in people's mind. Not so far out that people forget. And it's, you know, the hype into town meeting.
There was discussion, I know, on the town meeting floor, there was Chris Snow, I think, who felt that things should have been, especially the school article should have been discussed. There should have been a lot more information put out in advance of town meeting for people to learn. I don't know if that's something that this committee should be involved in.
That's one reason why I want to get together with staff this Friday, because, I mean, I landed in town, and it was a storm, you know, death march, baton march right to town meeting. We need to get out in every possible way earlier. You were talking about a week, you know, I might suggest this. I'd get rid of, we did two video shoots. It seems to me we could get rid of one of them, okay? And the only thing I would say is maybe do it a week earlier, because then we get more time on the, because it's not just that attendance, it's that time
viewing the video,
viewing it, and getting that out there. Maybe the week is good. I'm just suggesting maybe a week more might, if we can do it. And I'm happy to, you know, give all of our resources to help, so that people can get more time to see it. That's all. Because I think did you check the PTV ones? Because how many did those get in comparison?
I don't think it's that. One of the problems with when PTV does stuff is that they don't get tracked, right? When they put things on the channel, or even, I'm not even sure if the things on the government channel have any kind of indicator of how many views they get. That's just one of the things that I like
and I
about.
can look into that.
Yeah,
But one of the problems that Melissa had with that video in particular is that coming from us, we have to be very official about things. And so in editing, even cutting them into pieces, she ran into, oh my gosh, you know, I don't want to cut, you know, this into this little piece, and I don't want it to look like we're doing any editing because we don't want to look biased. So it is like a really interesting problem, and like, you know, are those two worlds going to be able to combine? Like,
Ooh.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I mean, that raised the implication, which I had thought of, which I wouldn't say that anything you were filming for the 365 was biased.
Well, it wasn't edited. It was start to finish, if you noticed that, and it was just continuous. So, but I think it's what PTV does. Well, what PTV does is a contracted service to town. What I did was 365 volunteer stuff. So it's there's different requirements. But yeah, we could collaborate more on that.
Yeah, maybe we just collaborate more. I'm just saying, we did the same thing twice. Why?
Yeah.
Let's do one and maximize the use of the video. That'd be me.
Now, to go back to some of the points, would it be good to do this 2 weeks out, and then if there are complicated warrant articles, schedule it for Monday, the week prior to the meeting. That way we can have extra meetings on more complicated warrant items that are more open to the public, besides the official ones.
It's an idea, so I don't know that it's necessarily the more complicated articles as the more controversial ones that might want to have a second meeting. And I think that would be something that the town manager would have to weigh in on, that because it would involve staff time. So you'd have the original presentation 2 weeks before, and then the week before we would have a second one for who determines exactly what's more controversial, what staff is there, and it's an idea that I think should be explored, because I think that especially at Springtown meeting, we're anticipating doing an inclusionary and incentive zoning bylaw, which I anticipate will be both complicated and controversial. So that's a good example of something that could probably use 2 rounds of vetting with the public. But where you make the decision as to what's controversial or complicated and what's not, and what you bring back a second time, I'm not sure how you make that determination.
For me, it's almost always fairly obvious what's controversial and what's not, because it's what anybody yells at me about. But I would say, look, we can figure out issues of staff, and I do want to make sure about that, because there's going to be a lot of things to do to prepare for town meeting. That being said, the more times we all get out in front of the public on anything, the better it is. Right? One of my old bosses used to say, a public process ends when the public stops showing up. that's the point at which we want to get, when people are so bored that they go, I got it, I don't need to be there. I don't think we're there yet. We're not even getting enough people in the room. So I'm in favor of doing more. It's just we got to figure out schedule and timing and resources, et cetera, from our side. But more, yeah, absolutely.
And so to add to that, by statute, the planning board is required to have a public hearing on all zoning bylaw amendment proposals within 2 weeks before town meeting. So that's another public hearing that has to happen by law. So maybe in some ways,
Don't forget every board too. We've got like 5 boards that have to do that for their own particular thing, Board of Health, et cetera. Finance. So we may want to be even promoting, an idea, we may want to be promoting attendance at those.
So why don't we, for the inclusionary bylaw, why don't we market the open meeting that the planning board's having, so that to help get people to get there, so then.
And then have the Provincetown 365 one afterwards, so that they can hear the original presentation and then formulate questions.
Yes.
And that might be a good way to do it.
We can help promote these open meetings and get people there, so that when they come to the forum, they're a little more educated, and then they can answer their questions, and then, go into town meeting prepared to vote.
We can advertise those at the cinema too.
Yeah, because if they're on the screen for a town meeting, it's like, break the date and time and tell people to show up.
It's a great idea.
So is there any further discussion on this?
I have one other topic. So I serve on the Charter Enforcement Commission, and we've had multiple efforts in the last couple of years to consider charter revision, including the Board of Selectmen going down the road, appointing a group who were unable to really move forward. So I have petitions here for creating a charter revision committee. It would take about 380 signatures to get there. So, and I'm not the only one circulating. If you've already signed one recently, don't sign again, please. I'm just going to circulate these. But the idea is that our charter has not been reviewed in about almost 20 years. It's really antiquated. There are a number of changes in state law that have occurred that would allow us to change how we do certain things, and it would require a change in the charter to adopt those. And we've not been able to do that, and we haven't looked at it in 20 years, and we haven't been able to come together the last 2 or 3 years to do it. So
Do you have to be a resident?
you do have to be a registered voter in the town of Provincetown to sign this.
Can you just also mention some of the things that we're falling behind on because the charter hasn't been revised?
So I don't know all of the details. I'm a new member of Charter Enforcement, but I know that there are some very specific sort of local option things that towns are able to do. They have to happen in the charter, and so you can't just vote at town meeting to do it, because town meeting can't change the charter. The charter is like the constitution for the town, and it can only be changed by a charter review committee, and then that has to be adopted by the voters. So there's lots of ways to be engaged in it, but there are very specific things where a 20-year-old charter, some of it is just the way that it calls certain things, but some of the procedures are really antiquated, and there are ways, that we can streamline how government works. There are certain committees and boards that have overlapping functions that don't need to be overlapping. It doesn't make sense to have 2 boards looking at the same thing, and so those are some of the issues.
I was on the charter review ad hoc committee. We came up with a draft and were completely blocked by the Board of Selectmen, one of whom actually went so far as to say, no, we have power now and I think that's good, so I don't want to change the charter. This was televised. I mean, anyway, the only way we can get a charter change, and what we currently have is a patchwork of amendments and misspellings, is to have an elected charter commission. This is what we had the last time too. 25 years ago, we tried to have a review committee. It didn't work. We wound up having to have an elected commission. The only way we can do that is to circulate this petition. I've got some in my briefcase at home if anybody needs extra blanks and want to distribute them. Which is why, by the way, I didn't sign it. I signed my copy.
Thank you.
Okay, so that what the petition is requesting is an elected charter commission?
Exactly. And so the Board of Selectmen, it won't go to the Board of Selectmen as recommendations for them to then adopt and put on a ballot, it would bypass the Board of Selectmen, and it would put, but, so again, elected officials, elected individuals would serve on a commission that would propose a new charter, and that would go to the voters for adoption. And if
It's
it was
also-
adopted, then it would go to the legislature.
It also would prohibit the Board of Selectmen from appointing.
Right, understood.
Yes.
Which is really what,
Understood.
Yeah.
How many people would be on the committee?
I don't
Is that
know what
prescribed?
state law.
There were
provides
11
something.
on the Charter Review Ad Hoc Committee, mostly because there were 11 people who applied.
But this would be an elected committee, so
Yes.
this is a different animal.
But it's large and it's representative of, and the point is to represent diverse perspectives. How many? 11?
It's like that, it's 9 or 11, I can't remember. I've done 2 of them.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if no one minds, I'm going to take the economic development as well.
Sure.
Since Mike's not here. So I am on the Economic Development Committee for 365, and I am Vice Chair of the Town Economic Development Committee. So Mike circulated the survey you guys had come up with at the last meeting. And it was great. I'm going to ask that you guys hold off on this. The Town Economic Development Committee is actually doing a more thorough survey on this, and we are more than happy to, send it out to the Provincetown 365 email list, because we're going to want as much input on this as possible. But we are going a little more in depth in the questions, so if you guys don't mind right now holding off on that, and everyone is welcome to attend the Town Economic Development Committee. We meet every Tuesday at 3 o'clock. So any feedback on this? The December meetings will be focusing on our survey questions. So any input into them and guidance that you feel that we aren't reaching in the questions you have asked, please feel free to answer it. But I am going to ask that not get sent out until the town has done theirs.
I think the original idea was to do a first draft and give it to you guys, to do with as you please.
And it was great, and there were some questions that you guys asked that we didn't, but please feel free to attend and give your input to this. This is a new town committee that was reformed, so we're taking a lot of stuff that the committee from 8 years ago did, and bring in our own ideas. So this is one of them, and this is going to be pushed out through the PDG. It's going to be pushed out through the chamber. It's going to be pushed out through the Provincetown 365. It's going to be pushed out through the Second Homeowners Association, because we do want as many numbers as we can possibly get on this. So that's all I have for the economic development.
Brian, can I just ask you, the every Tuesday situation, I was looking in the banner and didn't see it listed for a number of successive Tuesdays. I was out of town for a while. Are you back on a schedule at the town EDC?
The town EDC meets every Tuesday, and it's in the banner.
Okay.
So it is posted because we do have to do that. So you'll see actually 3 of the town committee members are a part of this. So you'll see us rotate in because we can't all be here at the same time due to open meeting laws. So I did miss the original meeting when this was done because Mike attended. So, feel free to email me at any time. Everyone has my email on this group list. So, is there any questions for economic development?
I just wanted to point out the interview that you did with Lower Cape TV is on Facebook, on video.
Oh, yes.
And
So,
probably
the
airing on TV.
CDP asked the EDC, town EDC, to do an interview. And we opened it up to 365, and since I'm on both, I was nominated to do it. So I expected to go into this interview talking about the Town Economic Development Committee, but it was more a 365 interview. So I answered the questions to the best of my ability. I was not prepared for that, but it did give us, they were very excited. This is airing up and down the Cape on their television station and on the radio, WOMR locally. I think they're going to post it to PTV, but I'm not sure. So it was a great interview. It was a great publicity for Provincetown 365 because half the interview was about that. So, probably wasn't the best to do it, but it was fun, and I talked Provincetown 365 up correctly. So. Anything else? All right. I think housing is up next.
First
Light.
First Light. So maybe our town manager would like to,
You take the stage.
Okay. Just checking in. To start off with, our First Light is going far better than I ever expected. It's the outpouring of people wanting to be open and the outreach and the communication. It's not where I really want it to be, but I'll tell you, it's pretty darn good. And I think we can only, I viewed the First Light, before we really, just more of the details, I viewed the First Light as a test run, a way to see whether everybody would cooperate. And some folks, the coolest thing is people are comfortable. First, everybody had to be in the room because they didn't know what the heck was going to happen. And so they need to make sure that their issue was protected. By and large right now, people are either coming or not coming depending on their availability, and nobody's really anxious. The best part about it is it appears that everybody is generally getting along. And for me, when trying to run community events, the first critical piece is actually getting a team of people who laugh and work together and rely upon each other and are willing to let somebody else carry the ball. So they don't, and I'm seeing that happening a lot. The fireworks are now all set completely. That's a go. Only issue, of course, is, as was the chief of police reminded us at the last meeting, of the last 7 years, the wind was too high on 5 of those years that we wouldn't have had the fireworks.
Wow.
So that is an issue. We're gonna, and they're on Saturday night. That's the 2nd. But we're gonna have a pre-rain date. So on Thursday, if we figure that Saturday won't work, we're gonna start announcing in the media that it's gonna be Friday night. So that's number 1. Number 2, where's the ad copy for the Polar Plunge?
Right there in your hand.
Oh, is it? It's below here? All right, let's find it. Oh yeah, the Provincetown Polar Plunge, sponsored by your friends at...
Hey, Dyer.
Got a little So we have that. In terms of events, if I go back, so just as a note, lodging right now, we're up to 36 B&Bs that are open. In terms of retail, we are up to 62. In terms of galleries, 21. Bars and restaurants, 38. So that's really good. We have a whole bunch of ads running all the way up towards Boston and across the Cape. They're going to get more and more as we head into later November and earlier December. And again, we started this thing thinking this is a party for everybody who comes here already. If anybody else happens to come, how nice. We'll put out an extra plate of food. Right now, I think I've got a little anxiety that we've got enough marketing and activity and outreach that we may be over successful. So that's a good thing. But I do want to just mention, when it starts getting close to the event, we don't know what we're going to need for volunteers, and we may have a couple last-minute calls for volunteers, because if this thing gets larger, we're going to need people, because the worst thing you can do is, right, everybody shows up for the party and the punch bowl is already done, 15 minutes into the party. So we need to make sure that we have signs, that we have direction. We're now even talking about potentially porta potties. And I think if we haven't distributed it to everybody, we do need to get it out. I'm not going to go over the list of activities. It's two-sided. It looks like a lot. It isn't. It's more of the normal stuff. We're talking on Saturday now, open house at Town Hall. We're talking the Polar Plunge piece. We're talking, I'd love to see, I thought of it earlier, we haven't reached out to you guys. What is happening? How do we get that advertised? Get people inside. It's going to be cold out. We need inside activities.
Okay.
So things to entertain people.
Yeah, movies,
Like
showing
maybe
movies.
movies. All right, so that's, let's see, what else did I want to add? We're trying to work, the other piece I mentioned, we're trying to work on, I do want to know one. We're trying to work actually on also getting and this is, I just want to say this is what's happening on this project. We come up with an idea, and then suddenly it looks like it isn't going to work because there isn't that much energy behind it. And then I wait a week or so, and this never happens to me in community events at all. It resurfaces because somebody independently has decided to take it on and make it work. Grace, okay, if Pam, okay, has stepped up suddenly. We first talked about getting ads, paintings, images, art in the windows of the closed stores. It was a good idea, but it started to sort of go south. And then suddenly, quietly, a week or two later, Grace pops up and says, yeah, we're working on that. We just were with the kids up at recreation last week. We've got all these things going on. Bam. Another one. Let's light the water tower and stick and put some sort of a Happy New Year or snowflake or something on it. Can't do it. Rich Waldo says to me, David, please let me out of this. I don't want to do this. Okay, I say fine. Let's forget it. A week later, he comes in and says, yeah, I talked to somebody who lives up by there and they're going to light it from their house and they can do it all. I'm finding this repeatedly, and I just want to mention that that's one of the best things that I'm finding about this community, is in other communities, people don't step up. In this community, they do repeatedly, and that's what makes an event like this a success. The last one I mentioned is just added, First Light Meditation.
Ooh.
Okay.
Nice.
Council on Aging is doing this at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the VMCC. End the year on a relaxing note. Diane Hamilton will lead this hour of mindful breathing, laughter, guided meditation, and silence, a free event. So that's happening as well. I could go on, but there's nothing more to add that you won't find on these sheets. But I think this thing's going to be a success, and I just want to thank 365 for pushing this from the start.
All right, and last but definitely not least, community housing.
David Garden had to leave, so I'm going to cover a couple of the things that the community housing work group has been working on. We've been in contact with people who have established community development corporations, housing trusts, real estate investment trusts, in an effort to bring them all together to one room at one time and talk to the Community Housing Council, the Community Housing Work Group, maybe some interested residents who would make sense to include in this, to talk about ways that we can actually take control of our housing needs. It's a slow process. You know, housing's been an issue for 20 years. There are going to be maybe even longer. There are going to be no easy solutions, nothing fast. But one of the things that I think a lot of people are starting to think is that as we sell off, you know, our community assets like 26 Alden Street, it maybe isn't the best way to manage our properties, and there might be ways that we can actually manage them as a town and develop them and, you know, hold on to them and actually get out of them what we want as opposed to a percentage of affordable units. We've talked to people with real viable models who've done things over the course of many years. And it's really a question of bringing everyone to the table at one time so we can explore the options. And we're also thinking about the community housing trust that the FinCom proposed and was passed at town meeting, and how we can use that to kind of supplement some of these ideas we have. I know I sent an email from the town of Dartmouth to our town manager just today or yesterday about an RFP that went out for consultant services to like buy down housing so that they can be preserved as affordable without actually buying the units, just putting you know, a certain amount in to buy down the cost of it. So there are a lot of options that we're exploring to kind of tackle the housing issue from various angles, but all with the idea that, you know, as a community, we should be doing this ourselves. We shouldn't really be parceling this out to like private developers who have their own vested interests in mind. That this is something, if we decide as a community to invest in, that we need to set up the types of infrastructures within our government and within our community to be able to handle this type of thing. And there are a lot of models out there. A couple of the people that we talked to, I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, was the city of Attleboro, which has a really interesting community development corporation model where all of the officers of the corporation are people who work in city government. So it's like the mayor, the treasurer, the city planner, the community development director, and I think one other person. And they act in a way that benefits the community, but of course it's not really a community organization. It's a separate 501(c), but it's obviously very linked to the community.
One of the ones I've been thinking of along those lines is a 121, it's called a 121B corporation. It's the corporation that, a separate CDC, you'd have to follow 30D or these other rules. There's a way to take a regular CDC that's a nonprofit and declare it to be what's called a 121A corporation, which effectively, in a way, I'll use this, makes it a redevelopment agency. And so the town can shift money back and forth, while at the same time, it isn't the town, but it is the town, and it combines a lot of both of the two.
So that's exactly the Attleboro model.
Yeah, no, it is, and
that's why it would be good to have someone who has experience doing that and setting it up to come in and talk to us. I have the background information, like I have bylaws for how that CDC was set up. There are other options for like housing trusts, which are, separate entities which have more flexibility than a town would ever have. But just to explore different models.
That's cool, and I just want to mention, I have that experience, just so you know, I did set them up. But yeah, I'm all in favor of it. Go ahead, sorry.
I guess that's it. So, and the other thing that we're working on is, well, we can talk about the real estate investment trust and other things at another time as we move forward with that. So the other thing that we're working on with Paul and his excellent graphic skills and site designing skills is looking at the possibility of how we could envision the community center site as 24 units of affordable housing, actually 24 units of housing, half of which are affordable, and how that might be laid out on the site and how we could potentially do that. I don't know if you all know this, but we put out an RFP to develop that project as all affordable housing, and we got no proposals. So it's difficult to bring in, private developers to develop a project that's 100% affordable housing. It really doesn't make sense from a pro forma standard. So that's part of the reason we're looking at ways of actually keeping our town assets and developing them the way we see fit.
So there's more opportunities with the community development building, we think, David and I think, maintaining the historic front building, demolishing the volume of 3 floors in the back and making it, well, David and I were thinking that the Ted Malone building at Schenck Painter, this single room occupancy, we could do 24 units as a combination of the two. It wouldn't be, the scale of the volume would be very similar to what it looks like now, so it wouldn't be a overbuild. It wouldn't overwhelm the front because it would sit behind it. The other thing that we're working on is we did a simple analysis of what the public housing MOSHA building, what they could do in the future, showing them where the zoning setbacks were, what could happen, what could not happen, what would happen if they bought the land behind them. And one of the things was just adding to the existing building. So we're meeting with them on the 20th to talk to Elaine Anderson and Kristen Hatch. That's something that we're helping them. Before 365 was organized, and we came in with that, we failed at the VFW site with the farm, what is it called?
Winslow Farm.
And part of the problem was that we weren't working with the community development housing group or the public housing group. We didn't have time. We were just trying to get something visual and out to the community to look at and hopefully approve. Well, we have to work with everybody around there. And when we get to, maybe go back to the VFW site, or once the police station is decided where it's going to be, there's going to have to be a lot of input from a lot of people. So, what should that be? Is it going to be shared with the police? Or I'm hearing nowadays that, well, maybe it'd be better with all housing and maybe the police station was someplace else. So at least those three things we are trying to participate in.
Good.
Thank you. And just to note that the next regularly scheduled meeting date is Wednesday, December 9th.
Do we know where?
I kind of like having this out of town hall.
Totally agree.
So I don't know if we should try to find another location. I can get on that, and if I can't find something, we can do a plan B at town hall. But if you guys are in agreement of finding another guest house, maybe Rue. I see some representatives from Rue here.
Perhaps. Something for December 9th.
I think that's a great idea. Also, how would
Will you
it
be cooking?
How would it work for people if we did something at the movie theater? And then, so we had a meeting and then we bought tickets to a show. Would people feel comfortable? Said you'd buy a movie ticket and stay for a movie afterwards?
December 9th, it's playing, yeah, but we don't
Yeah,
have the
we-
film art series that night, so we can do it.
So we just have to check our schedule, but that would be great. We'd love to host it.
I will follow up on that as the first plan. Second option will be another guest house. Last place will be town hall.
We have many
Also,
notes in
before we
there.
leave,
Take it up and move
do
it
the
around.
groups have the dates that they're going to be, because I know we've got a lot of new faces here, and people were talking about joining certain committees.
Yeah,
Do we have that yet?
we haven't had that, and I have to say, I have a really hard time managing the schedule of every group and sending out emails to everyone. And I know that David's really good with the community housing group, but I don't have a single person in any of the other groups to kind of like take control of that. And it's really, it's a lot of time and a lot of organization to pick dates that work for, every member of every group when I'm dealing with like 9 separate work groups at this point. So if I can find,
I'll do EDC.
okay, Brian for EDC, parking and transit and Shank Painter, I don't know, Rick, how you feel about,
I'll take that one over.
okay.
It's coordinated.
So do you want to combine those? Right, I'm okay with that because we've been doing a lot together. Governance and outreach, Cindy.
Brian's already doing one of them.
No, Brian's doing economic development.
Yeah, so I'll do
So you can
governance.
do governance and outreach. First Lake, we've already got that moving along. Community housing, I'm gonna call on David to do that. And
So
I
new
think
faces
that
here, before
Harbor
everybody
Gateway.
leaves,
Harbor Gateway.
make sure you send, if you're interested in joining a committee, shoot an email to Gloria and she will
I will
send
give
it out to the
you
appropriate
on
person.
exactly, I'll put you on the overall mailing list and I can put you on any individual work group mailing list. So send me an email or give me a call and I'll work that out. And do you mind sending out an email for the Harbor Gateway work group? Because one of the things, okay, this is one of the things we talked about, but let's just talk about that at the next meeting, rather than getting into it. I haven't met in a while since the
I'm
podcast.
gonna stop the tape.